YouTube. I want to have a little discussion today about a hot topic, and I plan to actually make a video later on about um, how it relates to the consoles. But right now, I want to talk about used games. I think there's a misconception about used games, and I'm not suggesting that all used games are negative, but what I am suggesting is that there are alternatives to what people quote unquote believe that used gaming really brings to the table. People seem to believe that used games are the only way to purchase games at a reasonable price, and I want to show you today that that's clearly not the case. Never mind the fact that we all know that video games do go on sales from time to time and that there are deals. But when you go to, for instance, like a GameStop, and this is just simple, I put in PlayStation 3 new games, and I based it on popularity, and this is at a pretty wide open price range. But let's narrow it down even more. Let's go under $20. And if we go under $20 and we click on popularity, this is what we get. You've got games like Dead Space, Batman Arkham City, BioShock, Uncharted 3, Infamous 2, Assassin's Creed 2, Grand Theft Auto 4, Batman Arkham Asylum, Game of the Year Edition, Mass Effect 2, Metal Gear Solid 4, Borderlands. And as you can clearly see from this first page, there are great games that are readily available at a great price for all gamers, no matter who you are, on a budget or not, can play. And people have the misconception that used games are the only benefit for budget-minded people. And I just wanted to show you guys that that's clearly not the case, and to give you an alternative way of thinking. You see, remember this, people. People talk about how used games are allowed in various other industries, but let's just take a quick example. Let's look at the movie industry, for instance. And the movie industry has several ways to where they're able to recoup money, right? They have, of course, their initial release in the movie theater. Then they've got pay on demand. And then, of course, they come out with their Blu-rays. Now, as you can clearly see, there are 3 different ways, and sometimes there's even more than that a studio can recoup their money. And this is in the movie industry. So, yes, used game sales or used movie sales in those industries is not necessarily a big issue. Now, granted, no matter what industry that there is, piracy continues to be a huge issue, and it continues to be an issue where publishers lose money. The music industry, as we all know, faced their own crisis, and we all witnessed it when the music industry kind of bottomed up. But if you notice, the music industry started creating its own various forms of revenue. It had, of course, the release of the CD, and then they started having services such as what we see with Pandora, Spotify, Last FM, the various radio stations that are out there. These are forms of supplemental income that's basically go back and they support the music industry. Now, in the gaming industry, and you guys must take this under consideration, there are no such things in the gaming industry. In the gaming industry, you have a publisher and you have a game studio that creates a product, right? And that product is released, and the sales that they expect are the only means for them to make money, right? Well, when they don't make money, studios close, and this is where I start to get a little upset. And I want you guys to just kind of walk with me through this journey. The expectation for the home console market is high, right? We all want next-gen gaming. We all criticize how we want those improved graphics. We want those improved specs. Now, what no one wants to take into consideration, and it's funny, Cliff Belinsky actually came out with some Twitter posts talking about the very issue. These games have huge budgets, and people won't have a high expectation for great content, but then people don't want to pay the full $60 price for the content. Now, how can you have an expectation for, superior content, superior graphics, superior everything, but still be unwilling to pay $60 and still be budget-minded? That's a walking contradiction. It doesn't make any sense. But moving on from that point, the problem is, and how it directly relates to used games, is simply this: people have the wrong misconception that used games are a benefit to the industry, when in reality that they're not. The very people who would purchase used games, and I'm going to be harsh here, people, are the very people who would purchase knockoff products, knockoff, you know, games, pirated games, anything like that. Those are the very people who would support those industries. They don't care about the publisher. The only thing that they're concerned about is getting their game as cheap as possible. Now, for people who are quote unquote the hardcore gamers, right? When we all consider ourselves hardcore gamers, we all consider ourselves the backbone of the industry, correct? Yes, we do. There's a problem when we are unwilling to support the very hobby that we love, which is gaming. When we are unwilling to pay full price for games, or at the very least buy games new, that's a problem. The hardcore gamer should support the studios. Now, and I'll say it again, for those who support used games because it saves them money and they're able to afford this and that, you're the very guys who would buy a knockoff product that, as long as it looks like the original, or you're the guy who would buy a $5 pirated game if it ran on your Xbox 360 or PS3. You have no integrity. The only thing you want is a quick fix, cheap game. You don't care if it benefits the publisher. And in reality, you are the very reason why the industry is the way it is now. Now, ask yourself this question: was the industry ever like this before? And the answer to that is no. It wasn't like that. People released, their games on some type of physical media, and that's how things have worked for quite a long period of time. The PC industry, and then it's funny, we have all these hardcore PC gamers. You guys know the ugly reality. DRM existed in the PC industry for one simple reason: piracy was completely out of control. The Steam model was developed to counteract that. It wasn't just some novel idea that, hey, this we think this might work. No, piracy was out of control with PC gaming, and there needed to be a means to stop it. And guess what? The Steam model was developed to do that, and it's worked quite successfully. Now, the reality is this: whether it's PC gaming or console gaming, if people bought their games, if people weren't eager to pirate their games, if people were eager to actually buy games new, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in right now. We wouldn't have Microsoft making a console that's going to have DRM management. The only people to blame for the current mess that we're in right now is ourselves. Now, I'm not condemning anyone, and I'm not saying that all you people who support used games are idiots or anything like that. But what I am suggesting is that you at least think about it for a minute or two. There are games that are available for those on a budget at great prices. I mean, just look what I've showed you right now, and this is just on, 2 pages. There's 38 additional pages of games that are $19.99 or less. So to say that that's the only way that some people can afford to play games is simply not true. You can buy games on a budget and still support the publisher. Now, if we correct this ourselves, we will not see DRM. You guys are like, what? No, it's true. The only way we're going to continue to see more and more DRM is if we don't support the publishers. And right now, people think that the stance that they're taking anti-Microsoft, that's going to solve the problem. I got news for you. If games don't sell on the PlayStation 4 platform, DRM is coming. It's not if, but when. And the only people that will be to blame is the very people supposedly who are the most hardcore gamers of all.